Hi guys, sorry, this update on the bike with the major problem has been a long time coming, but I couldn't give you an update without first explaining some of the things what's gone on, and them things that have gone on has been ongoing for a couple of weeks, so I didn't want to do an update video without me being really convinced that the bike is 100% fixed. So this is the second part of the video. If you haven't seen the first part, please check up there. So after filming that, I immediately went straight to KTM, and it was a bit weird actually, because I was trying to film a sort of like a year ownership review of the bike, but didn't in the end because I was quite worried about it, so I took the bike straight to KTM and basically wanted to know what was happening, what was going wrong. So the bike went to KTM, and it was with KTM for 2 weeks while they sorted the problem out. So the guys at my local dealership, let's make this first and foremost quite clear, the guys at my local dealership have been brilliant. So I showed up on the day, not planned anything, didn't ring them up or anything like that. Showed up with this fault. The guy seemed to know exactly what had happened with the fault. They've had a history of these faults, never on a Super Duke before, but on the 1290. That's good, isn't it? Not even put my seat on. On the 1290 Adventures, they've had a history of this fault. So because they've had a history of this fault, they seem to nip it in the butt straight away, and they disconnected the battery, and that stopped the random things happening, the ignition kicking on and off and stuff like that. So that stopped that immediately. Now, what they thought the problem was, the initial problem would be the switchgear here, just next to the throttle where the ring mirror would be if I hadn't put these ones on. That's up dirty, that mirrors. The bike's really dirty, by the way, because I haven't got round to cleaning it yet. I'm gonna clean it tomorrow, maybe. I might do a video on that actually. Anyway, so they thought the fault was with this switchgear here. I think they call it the race-on switch. So there was a fault with that, and they suspected that either water ingress or dust or something had got into there. Now I believe since then, is what these guys told me, this race-on switch has been modified. Now looking at it, I can't tell any difference, to be honest with you, to the old one, but that's been modified. So the newer bikes are coming out with this switch modified, so we shouldn't have that problem. But as my bike was an early 2017 version, I guess they hadn't found that fault yet. So they replaced that switch. Do you know what? I'm gonna get on and ride the bike and tell you about this, because I'm getting really hot just standing here. Plus, it's a beautiful day. This is going to be just a boring video, but just stand here. So just bear with me a sec, and I'll get back on the bike and we'll go for a ride. So, by the magic of media, it's now the next day. It's the next day because I recorded this video and for some reason memory card corrupted and it didn't actually record. So I'll have to do it the next day, but I will get this video out eventually. So, an update. As I said before, straight from that last video, I took the bike back to KTM in Hemel Hempstead, the KTM centre, and they were very, very good. In fact, they seemed to know what the fault was straight away, and how they knew what the fault was is apparently they've had it before on some of the 1290. Well, they said some of the adventure bikes, so maybe the 1050 Adventure and maybe the 1290 Adventure. So they had the same problem before, and they diagnosed it as the switchgear switch. Fantastic, they'll need to replace it, and it'll take them about 2 weeks maybe to get the part in and to replace it. Fantastic. What they did do is straight away they disconnected the battery, so you know the bike was going to be idle for 2 weeks. You know, it wasn't going to be an issue. And they also give me a loaner bike, which I thought I was quite, oh well, some people would say, oh, they should be giving you a loaner bike anyway, but the fact that I just popped in that day, that minute, no warning whatsoever, and they give me a loan bike, I was really happy about that, actually, really happy. Sorted me right out. So the guy said, yeah, it gives about a week and a half for the parts to come in. As soon as the parts come in, we can get the bike in, we can replace the switch. Fantastic. You've got a loaner bike for the whole amount of time that you know were repairing your bike. So I had the loaner bike for 2 weeks, and I had a Duke 690. That's all they had basically available, but I was just happy I had the bike nevertheless. So 2 weeks have gone by. The part has come in. They fitted the part, and I get a phone call from them saying, you know, the bike's available for collection. We've fixed it, we've tested it, it works fine. Fantastic. Unfortunately, I couldn't get in that day or the next day. I could only get this. I think they rang me on a Wednesday, and this was a Friday when I actually collected the bike. Excuse me, I just burped. It was a Friday when I actually collected the bike, and I picked the bike up. No problems whatsoever. Picked the bike up. Now I was in work on the Saturday, so I didn't touch the bike on the Saturday. But on the Sunday morning I was in work again, but I decided I'll use the bike to travel to work. So I got the bike out on a Sunday morning. I went to start it. Now the bike did eventually start, but it was really weak starting. Unusual considered the bike just being, you know, not being used for 2 days. The bike should start after that. So anyway, it started in the end, worked fine. So I'm riding to work at this point thinking what it could actually be. And as I'm riding to work, I noticed that the horn was going off on the bike. It's very unusual. I start work quite early, so this was an inconvenience, as you can imagine. Well, there's nothing I can do about it. I need to get to work, so I get to work, turn the bike off, and to be honest, completely forget about all the issues. Do a 12-hour shift, get back on the bike. Bike starts okay this time, and I thought, oh, it's a little gremlin because the bike's been disconnected, the battery's been disconnected from the bike. Just a little gremlin we've got. So I ignored it. So on the way home on that Sunday night, for about a mile and a half, the quick shifter stopped working, and that's going up, and the down blipper going down as well. That completely stopped working. Didn't know what the problem was. Trying to get it up and down, not working. Give up, right? I'm a bit annoyed by this point, but this is a Sunday. There's not much you can do about it on a Sunday. And I think the Monday was a bank holiday as well. But because it was annoying me so much, I thought I'd take the bike to work on a Monday. So I take the bike to work on a Monday. It starts, not a problem. Drives, not a problem. Works, fantastic. You know, not a problem with the bike whatsoever. But I'm still not happy. These are little electrical gremlins creep in, and I was not satisfied that the bike was fully fixed. You know, after a couple of days it's still playing up a little bit. So what I'd done the Monday, and I was on working the nights on the Monday, so what I'd done is I just checked the battery connections. That's the only thing I could think it could possibly be. So I checked the battery connections. Not a problem wrong there. Everything that was connected should be connected, not a problem. I was turning ignition on. I was checking the battery voltage. You can check the battery voltage on this just by flicking the ignition on, like 14.2 volts now. That's because it's getting charged. Anyway, yeah, so check the battery voltage, not a problem. Everything's working. So then I ride home that morning. Yep, not a problem. It's working. It seems to work fine. Wasn't until I got close to my house, I'm talking maybe half a mile away from my house, that the bike just cut out completely. It was a little bit, I was approaching a roundabout actually, it was a little bit, I didn't know what was going on at the time because my focus was on approaching the roundabout and getting the entry to that correct. But the bike cut off, and I got a warning on the dash, fuel pump failure. So I pulled over to one side and I managed to stop the bike. So once I come to a complete stop, I turned the ignition off, turned it on again, pressed the start button, the bike started up, not a problem, worked. I rang KTM, explained all the problems to them. I couldn't take it into them. This was the Tuesday morning after I just finished work, a 12-hour night shift, and I couldn't take it into them till the Thursday because I was working the Wednesday night as well. Then I would have finished Thursday morning and God knows what else. So I took it into them Thursday, and immediately KTM took the bike off me, provided me with the loaner bike, said you'll have the loaner bike till this fault is fixed. They didn't know what it could be at this point, so they had the bike. They couldn't actually fit me in till the 11th of June to get the bike repaired, workshop time. However, if the bike was at least with them, they could sort of do fault diagnosis on them when they got the chance. I was quite happy to do that, and they gave me a 1050 Adventure, I think it was, or 1090 Adventure. They gave me that, and he said you can have that for the duration. So I'm thinking at this point that I'm not going to get the bike back for a couple of weeks. What happened then? The next morning, on the Friday morning, so a week after initially picking the bike up from the first fault, they gave me a ring, and they gave me a ring saying that they have fixed the bike, they've looked over it. One of the technicians has been out for a ride on it this morning and can't find any fault wrong with it whatsoever. He said because of the ignition switch and the way the cable is routed through the bike, it might have possibly, you know, got caught, got pinched, got crushed, whatever. And you've took the tank off, you've checked all the cable, and you couldn't find anything wrong. So I've got the bike back off them. Size of that fucking bird. It's fucking huge. That was close. So I've got the bike back off them, and the bike's worked perfectly ever since. Now that was about maybe a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. But what I wanted to do, what I didn't want to do, is I didn't want to upload this video, an update video, still having fault with the bike. So the fault was the race on ignition switch. That was the original fault. That's why you've seen what you've seen in the previous video. Now I think KTM have been great through this, because dropping the bike in them last minute, they've always sorted me out with a courtesy bike to ride while I haven't got use of my own. So that was really good, and big thanks to Mark at the KTM Centre in Hemel for that. Really appreciate that, sorting me out. But let's get on more onto this race ignition switch, race on ignition switch, or whatever it's called. So apparently KTM are aware of this fault, but they're aware of this fault only on their adventure bikes. Now what I believe is it's exactly the same switch on the adventure bikes, the keyless ignition switch on the adventure bikes, as it is on the Duke. So what they've done is they've replaced the keyless ignition switch. However, this race on keyless ignition switch, start button, whatever you want to call it, is a modified version. So because my bike is an early 2017 model, as soon as they come out, these haven't been modified. Later versions of the bike have been modified. At what point, at what date these new modifications come out, I don't know. But apparently, yeah, the modifications being carried out on all the new bike. But don't let this issue put you off buying a Super Duke, because apparently it's been modified out. Now all manufacturers get these snags every so often. Every bike manufacturer, every car manufacturer, every manufacturer of anything ever has faults with their products, and it's the way the manufacturer handles it is how I like to see if it's a good manufacturer or not. And I think KTM's been perfect so far. So that's the update anyway, just to let you know, give you an update. This is why, hopefully, an explanation of why it took so long to update. But thanks for watching, and thanks to all the new subscribers as well. My subscriber count has really jumped up in the last couple of weeks. It has gone noticed. I don't know why. I think it's because of the 790 Duke video I've done. But thanks very much for everyone to subscribing. But I'll see you on the next video.